you very much. This is strange. I never spoke in a movie theater before, and this is the biggest crowd I ever spoke in Romania. So thank you for the organizer. I think this event is fantastic, and I have a great time watching all these speakers who spoke before. It gives you a fantastic overview of the same thing, but view from different angles, different verticals, and in the same time, different problems that they are encountered. They are the same. So what I will try to do, I will try to talk in general of my view of what's going on in the world right now, which are the main concerns, which are the technological advancements, and what would be the future is a personal view. Basically, through this, I will sometimes give you examples of our UI path. For me, it's a fantastic opportunity to represent this company here, which I think it's an important, very important fact, the way the success of UiPath for the Romanian IT. And what Cornel said, it's basically the talent that exists in Romania needs opportunities like this to bring their technical skills and everything what is being developed by the ecosystem in Romania, like the universities and the universities who are preparing the future generations, and also with the company who became a flagship company in the global market. So UiPath was a startup which struggled like every startup for a long time, and finally it got on a path, a fantastic path. Currently it is a public company on the New York Stock Exchange, and we have about $1.6 billion annual recurring revenue. That's how the companies are measuring the success. So the clients are renewing their licenses every year. And also we have about 4,000 employees in 30 countries. So it's amazing. I didn't succeed with my own startups ever to get to this success, but I dreamt about this a lot. And it's very interesting. Probably I will end my career at this company seeing from the inside how a company from a startup started in Bucharest in a small apartment becomes a world power. We have about 45% of the AI-powered automation market in the world. So it's really amazing. I think it's a Romanian success because it started here, and now we have a global force, and through this we really are an example that everything what starts here is possible to become a global company. So basically, what I start with this. I said that this generative AI was like it was like a big bang in technology, and I asked Delhi, you know what Delhi is probably, to write me a drawing, create a drawing about what's the big bang for the industry, and it came out with this drawing, and it made sure that it explained to me why it created this. So this was generated by, very recently, a week ago, I watched an interview with the Saudi Minister of Communications and Information Technology. By the way, you'll see a lot of links. We can give you access to all this presentation. I would like for people who want to have a jump start also in what's going on in the world, you can use this and look at all these links, because we'll help you to see what's going on. So he said this, that basically we are shifting from the Industrial Revolution to the intelligence revolution. So I think it's very true, and it's so interesting, but in the same time we have all these challenges, and we are feeling them. I'll show you even in everyday life right now. So why are all these problems? First of all, definitely AI became generative AI, especially excellent an excellent channel to spread misinformation, and I will show you about that. Bias. They spoke about bias, and I want to give you two examples to understand what bias means. One example is from Professor David Barber, who is our distinguished scientist from University College of London. And he said that when now you train a computer, you basically are the professor, and the computer is your student. And then you have to train through example. And the professors usually train through questions and through explanations. And Professor Barber had this example, said, let's assume we have a teacher who has a student and is asking, parlez-vous français? And the student responds, oui. And the professor checks there, oh, this guy speaks French, he's excellent. And then the next question asks, in a week, asks something else in French. And obviously, the guy didn't know anything else. And then that means that the professor became biased by the fact that this guy is French because didn't train enough the system. So in order to train a system, you have to give enough questions and give enough examples to the student, which is our computer, basically to make sure that you are not biased about this. A second example, which is even more interesting, my job is easier because I will use what the speakers before me spoke about. So they talked about multimodal AI. Now, multimodal AI means that you have not only language models, you have language images and show many other things that you want to put together. There is a very successful scientist originally from Romania. Her name is Mirabela Rusu. She works at Stanford, and she works at the imaging lab near the Stanford Hospital, and she is developing a method to do multimodal models for prostate cancer detection. What that means that she feeds the model with the test results, which is text, feeds the model with MRI results, which is a way of communicating the results of a test. It's different from an X-ray. She can feed with X-rays too. So if you put all these different type of data, she puts in one model, and in this one model, basically can predict different diseases and also they create like a digital twin of the tumor, let's assume, and it's extremely useful for the surgeons and to determine the treatment. Now, she worked on this model, and after they published, they realized that it's a big problem. And the problem was the data that they used was only from the Stanford Hospital. And what is this a problem? The problem is because at Stanford Hospital usually go people only from areas with a lot of money. And that means that if you want to catch the results, if you will have patients from areas which have less affluent areas, less money, everything what you study, because you load there the nutrition, the lifestyle, will not be valid because you were biased by people who are above average with their income. So that's another bias, which I mentioned here. Hallucination, because they spoke about hallucination. When you go to sleep, usually you have the first 2 hours, you hallucinate in a positive way. And I don't know how many of you had this. I had this during my life. When you try to solve a problem, the first 2 hours, sometimes you have fantastic dreams which help you to wake up with some new idea. And this happened to me. But then you get into something called uncontrolled hallucination, where the system really takes off. And you start to see combinations of things that you lived through, some movies, and all kinds of stuff which makes absolutely no sense. The same thing happens in the computers. So you have two types of hallucinations. You have good hallucinations and bad hallucination. Usually the good hallucination, it helps you in your creative process. But the other one is dangerous. Now, there are companies, and a company very recently called Galileo came out with a hallucination firewall. So basically, when you work with a system and you get some information from an AI system, it detects the degree of hallucination. So if you can set up a threshold, says that if it's over 90%, definitely this is a bad hallucination. So the other two big things is the cost of this. So, hold on. Is the cost, because the cost of AI is very high. And not only that, I'll come back to this. We are using AI to, for example, to prevent the pollution or prevent the carbon consumption. And using these huge models, we actually consume so much carbon that we will become one of the main polluters if we don't take care of it. So that's other. This just shows you how many companies, AI companies, were at the end of last year. So it's very hard to make money with this. Very few companies make money on this. If you take the architecture of these AI systems, you have multiple layers. You'll see on the lower side there the hardware. No, there are the big companies, NVIDIA, and then it's interesting if you think about the implication of this hardware for AI. NVIDIA being essential with the GPUs for this technology, they are the unique provider of this technology, and they rely on a Taiwanese company. So that's why the conflict, potential conflict between China and Taiwan can have a huge implication in the AI world, because if that factory, which provides, is the only factory in the world which provides certain chips required for the GPUs, that if that will be shut down, then, or the Chinese will take it, then definitely it will be a big problem. That's why US it's basically investing a lot of money in creating factories in the US, one in Arizona and one in Midwest. The cloud computing companies, these are the companies who made the money, basically. If you saw the whole scandal with OpenAI and Microsoft, then Microsoft gave them $8 billion. It's not a big deal. He gave them $8 billion. He said, OK, but you run on Azure. So it's almost like moving money from this pocket in the other one, because they take the money from here, they give it to a company, and they have to run AI on their platform. They pay tons of money, goes in other pocket. So this is a lesson to know that if you start doing AI, think about the cost. Then, if you look on the right, then you have the open foundation models and so on. But if you look at the graph on the right-hand side, you'll see that the perception of the AI is so high that shows you the median price-to-earning ratio. So that basically means how optimistic the investors are. And these companies, you'll see, for example, NVIDIA, before OpenAI came up, had a valuation equivalent with Home Depot. And now the NVIDIA valuation is $2.2 trillion. Trillions. So you can see the cost of training these models. Very good example, very recently, Meta launched the Llama 3 model. They trained the Llama 3 model in 24,000 GPUs. Each GPU's value is $40,000. So the cost of the hardware for training the Llama 3, it's still training, it's not done, it was $960 million. So just think about the danger is that all these only few companies will be able to train the big model. This can create a dictatorship in the world. So the world will be basically controlled by 4 or 5 companies. That's why some people have even the idea to move these companies to be represented in the United Nations, because their impact is huge, can be huge. This is the question which was presented before. It's basically if how the AI will impact the human jobs. And basically, this is from Professor Daniel Susskind from Oxford. He said that if you think about the AI, with the current technology, you could eliminate approximately 5% of the jobs, white-collar jobs, with the current technology. But if you look bottom-up, so if you analyze every job, you'll see what type of tasks do you do every day. Now you'll see that with the current technology, you could basically automate 65% of the task. So the idea on this AI-powered automation is to find these tasks and basically to automate them. And then you will free up the world, how the mayor said very nicely before, and every speaker said, to let the humans do what they do the best, to do the creative, the empathy part, and all this part, and let the machine to do this repetitive part. Basically, how AI will impact education. Will be huge changes. And the first one, definitely, you have to change the curriculum to prepare the new generations for this. The second is basically, and I saw this at the university, San Jose State, for example, it's to put your students to go all the time and work in environments which use AI. And this is basically create this type of programs to get used with these technologies. And the last one, due to the current development of the technology, the education will never be like before, that you went to school, you are done, and then you never study before. The education will be perpetual. So there is no age and no nothing. You will have to participate and train, and your jobs will be changed. 2 words here about the fear about AI. And constitutional AI, it's actually a company called Anthropic. You heard about them. And their idea is simple. Basically, they say if you are so smart to create these models, you have to be smart enough to create an AI which enforces your rules what to not to do with it. So that's, I think, is the future, that we will have all kinds of AIs which will be our guards against misuse of the technology. This is interesting. We will all feel this. This was a recent study, and it showed that the ChatGPT is very biased towards the Democrats. And you'll see this is real. So the political effects are extremely dangerous. I wanted to show you this, the political deepfakes. Go and do a search. There is a nice video about this. It's how there is a system which was created experimentally. Basically, they are looking at the news, and based on certain rules, there is a gatekeeper, chooses some content, and generate a fake counter headline, which is spread to Twitter. So it's a fantastic tool for misinformation. This is the UiPath responsible AI rules. I don't want to say too much. We have a UiPath trust layer, and that's the big deal. So the regulation all over the world, you'll see that it's increasing the number of laws. You hear every day new laws in different countries. Today I read in Romania came out with a new system, and I don't know if it's a law or not, that people can report if there is some deep fake. related to something, and they have a commitment that in 24 hours we'll announce the big social media about those. But this is what András mentioned. These are the 12 different dangers of AI, which it's interesting to read, which were published by the US government 2 weeks ago. Now for the future, I will go over 30 seconds if it's okay. So I just tell you this. We were used with LLMs, which is large language models, which deals only with the language itself. Now, the new buzzword is LAM. It's large agentic models. The difference is, somebody said, no, the new thing is to, Karpati said, it's to talk in English with a computer, tell in English what the computer needs to know. Now, in order to do that, you have to have LAM models which are able to translate for English in workflows. So basically, to have a huge database with all kinds of workflows, and if we come back to that tree where I showed you the 65% which can be automated, then basically those workflows are one of those branches there which can be automated. So you get from the text to workflows, and these are the large agentic models. The last thing that I will show you, well, the autopilot, if you are interested, you just talk to me. I'll show you some autopilot examples I have on my computer. And this is the last one, and I'll finish here. This touches what the lady who spoke before me from Continental, the new idea, one of the solutions of the cost and the whole this problem with large LLMs are the edge computing. Edge computing, you'll see use cases, manufacturing is one. It's basically you move all the application, you use small LLMs, not big LLMs and small models in general, and in the same time you move it outside the cloud, in the sense that the latency has to be much smaller, instead that very fast, and the second thing, the cost is much more reduced because you don't pay all the money to the big cloud providers for it. Thank you very much.